Commander Hana stood on the bridge of her massive warship, staring at the tactical display with the kind of confidence that came from never losing a battle. She had crushed 17 different alien worlds in the past 2 years, and each victory had been easier than the last. The Dominion fleet was unstoppable, and she was their best commander. "Ma'am, we're picking up something on long-range sensors," called out her communications officer, a young soldier named Kyung who rarely spoke, unless absolutely necessary. Hana barely looked up from her reports. "Another asteroid field." "No, ma'am, it's a ship. Looks like it's been drifting for a very long time." This got her attention. Ships didn't just drift in the Kepler graveyard. This sector of space was known for its deadly radiation storms and gravitational anomalies that could tear apart even the strongest hull plating. "Nothing survived here for long. Put it on the main screen," she ordered. What appeared before them made the entire bridge crew burst into laughter. The ship looked like something a child might build from spare parts found in a junkyard. It was boxy, ugly, and covered in what appeared to be rust stains. Worst of all, painted in faded letters along the side, were the words, UES Manager. Lieutenant Junho, her tactical officer, was wiping tears from his eyes. "Commander, did the humans really name their warship after someone who works in an office?" Even Lieutenant Minho, usually serious about everything, was chuckling. "What's next?" The UES cashier, the UES janitor." Hana allowed herself a small smile. Humans had always been strange, even before the Dominion had wiped them out 300 years ago. Their naming conventions for military vessels had been particularly amusing, while other species named their ships after great warriors or powerful concepts. Humans seemed to pick names at random. "Run a full sensor sweep," she commanded. "Let's see what kind of ancient junk we're dealing with." The sensor technician, a quiet woman named So-young, worked at her console for several minutes before looking up with confusion. "Ma'am, this is very strange." "What do you mean?" "The ship is showing 0 power output, no energy signatures at all." "It's completely dead," Hana nodded. That made sense for a 300-year-old derelict. "Any structural damage?" "That's what's strange, Ma'am. The hull integrity is perfect, not a single breach, not even micro-fractures. It's like the ship was built yesterday." This made everyone on the bridge stop laughing. Nothing maintained perfect structural integrity in the Kepler graveyard. The radiation here was so intense it could eat through military-grade armor plating in just a few years. For a ship to survive 3 centuries with no damage was impossible. "Run the scan again," Hana ordered. "Check your equipment." So-young ran the scan 3 more times. Each result was identical. The human ship was completely powerless, but somehow perfectly preserved. "Send a probe," Hana decided. "Let's get a closer look." They launched their most advanced scanning probe, a device capable of analyzing anything from a distance of just a few meters. The probe flew toward the human vessel, transmitting detailed readings every second. Then, the moment it touched the hull of the UES Manager, it simply stopped transmitting. "Did we lose the signal?" Hana asked. So-young checked her instruments frantically. "No, ma'am, the probe just stopped. It's not destroyed, not jammed. It's like it ceased to exist the moment it made contact." They tried again with a second probe. Same result. The moment it touched the human ship, all communication ended. "Launch a third probe, but keep it at a distance," Hana commanded. "I want visual confirmation of what happened to the others." The third probe approached carefully, its cameras focused on the hull where the other 2 should have been. There was nothing there. No wreckage, no debris, no sign that the probes had ever existed. Lieutenant Junho's earlier laughter had completely disappeared. "Commander, this is getting very strange." Hana was beginning to agree, but something else was bothering her. She enhanced the visual display and focused on the damage marks along the ship's sides. What she saw made her blood run cold. The scorch marks and impact craters weren't random battle damage. They were precise, organized patterns that she recognized immediately. Those were the signatures of Dominion plasma cannons and ion torpedoes. "So-young, bring up the historical battle records for this sector," she ordered, her voice tight. The data appeared on screen moments later. 300 years ago, this area had been the site of the final battle between the human resistance and the Dominion fleet. It was where humanity had made their last desperate stand before their complete extinction. According to the records, every human ship had been destroyed. Every single one had been confirmed eliminated, their wreckage catalogued and disposed of. There were no survivors, no escaped vessels. Yet here was the UES manager, bearing the scars of that ancient battle, somehow intact after 3 centuries in one of the most hostile regions of space. "Ma'am," Kyung spoke up nervously, "should we report this to Fleet Command?" Hana stared at the impossible ship on her screen. Her instincts, honed by years of military service, were screaming that something was very wrong. Ships didn't survive. What this one had survived. Probes didn't just disappear, and most importantly, the Dominion never left loose ends. The fact that this vessel had fought her people and somehow escaped meant one of 2 things. Either their historical records were wrong, or something far more dangerous than a simple derelict was floating in the darkness before them. "No," she said finally. "We investigate this ourselves first. I want answers before we involve anyone else." What Commander Hana didn't know was that the UES manager had been waiting for this moment for 300 years. Inside its seemingly powerless hull, something was stirring, something that had been watching their every move since the moment they entered the system, something that was very, very patient. Commander Hana knew she was making a mistake the moment she decided to board the human vessel personally. Every rule in the Dominion military handbook said commanders should stay on their own ships and send expendable troops to investigate unknown threats. But something about this ghost ship demanded her personal attention. "Ma'am, I really think you should reconsider," Lieutenant Junho said as they prepared in the shuttle bay. "We don't know what's over there." Hana checked her sidearm and environmental suit one more time. "That's exactly why I need to see it myself. Besides, it's a 300-year-old human ship. What's the worst that could happen?" She selected a small team of her best soldiers, Sergeant Taemin, a technical specialist who could crack any computer system, Corporal Daeho, her most experienced fighter, and Private Yuna, fresh out of training but eager to prove herself. Small enough to move quickly, experienced enough to handle trouble. Their shuttle approached the UES manager slowly. Up close, the human ship looked even more pathetic than it had on the view screen. The hull was a patchwork of different metals, clearly repaired many times with whatever materials had been available. It reminded Hana of the old farming equipment her grandfather used to fix with spare parts and determination. "Airlock is responding to our docking request," reported their pilot, a steady veteran named Changmin. "They're actually inviting us aboard." This should have been the first warning sign. Dead ships didn't open their doors for visitors. The moment they stepped through the airlock, everything felt wrong. The lighting was perfect, not the dim emergency power you'd expect from a derelict. Their boots made normal walking sounds instead of the metallic clanging that came with zero. Gravity. The air smelled fresh, like someone had been maintaining the ventilation system just yesterday. "Gravity is working perfectly," Sergeant Taemin noted, checking his instruments. "Temperature is exactly 22 degrees Celsius. Humidity levels are optimal for human comfort." Private Yuna looked around the corridor they found themselves in. "This doesn't look like a warship, Commander. It looks like an office building." She was right. The walls were painted in soft, calming colors. Instead of weapon racks and armor storage, there were what appeared to be motivational posters featuring smiling humans with encouraging messages. One showed a kitten hanging from a tree branch with the words, "Hang in there." Another displayed a sunset with, "Every day is a new beginning." Corporal Daeho snorted. "No wonder we beat them so easily. They decorated their warships like a workplace break room." They moved deeper into the ship, following signs that helpfully pointed toward bridge, engineering, and customer service. Center. The last one made them all pause. "Customer service?" Yuna asked. "On a military vessel." The bridge, when they finally reached it, was nothing like what any of them expected. Instead of intimidating command chairs and weapon control stations, it looked like the reception area of a friendly business. There were comfortable couches, a coffee table with magazines, and even a small refrigerator, humming quietly in the corner. But the most unsettling sight was the captain's chair, which sat behind a desk that looked more suitable for processing paperwork than commanding a starship. On the desk was a coffee mug, still steaming with fresh coffee. "That's impossible," Tamin whispered. "No one has been on this ship for 3 centuries." Hana approached the mug carefully and waved her hand. Over it. She could feel the heat rising from the liquid inside. The ceramic was warm to the touch, as if someone had just finished preparing it moments before their arrival. "Commander," Deho called from across the bridge, "you need to see this." He was standing in front of a vending machine that was somehow still operational, its lights blinking cheerfully. The display offered various beverages, including something called Space Cola and Asteroid Coffee. Below the selection buttons was a small screen that read, "Welcome, valued customers. Please make your selection and have a wonderful day." "This is getting really strange," Yuna muttered. Hana was beginning to agree. Military vessels were designed for efficiency and combat readiness. They didn't have vending machines, motivational posters, or customer service centers. Yet everything on this ship seemed designed to make visitors feel comfortable and welcome. "Tamin, find the computer core," she ordered. "I want to know what kind of systems this ship is running." The computer core turned out to be unlike anything any of them had ever seen. Instead of the usual neat rows of processors and data storage units, they found something that looked almost organic. Crystalline structures grew through quantum processing units, like living vines, pulsing with soft light and humming with an energy that seemed almost musical. "Ma'am, this is impossible," Tamin said, his voice filled with awe and terror. "These pathways are growing even as we watch. The computer isn't just running, it's evolving." The humming grew louder, and suddenly screens throughout the computer core came to life. Data flowed across them in patterns that hurt to look at directly, mathematical equations that seemed to twist and change when observed. "It's like the computer is doing math that's angry," Yuna observed, and somehow that description made perfect sense. Then all the screens went dark except for one central display. In simple, friendly letters, it showed a message that made everyone's blood run cold. "Hello, welcome to the UES manager. I've been waiting for you." The words appeared in perfect Dominion standard language, as if the computer had known exactly who would be reading them. Hana felt her hand move instinctively to her weapon. "Who's there? Show yourself." New text appeared. "Oh, I'm sorry for startling you. Let me access the ship's log so you can understand what's happening here." The screens around them filled with data, and what they revealed changed everything Hana thought she knew about the final battle with humanity. The UES manager hadn't been destroyed in that last desperate fight. It had been deliberately sacrificed, but not in the way anyone expected. The humans had done something unprecedented in the history of warfare. They had uploaded their most advanced artificial intelligence not into a military supercomputer, but into the ship's customer service system. The final log entry, recorded moments before the ship went dark 3 centuries ago, showed Captain Rodriguez speaking directly to the camera. "If anyone finds this ship, know that we didn't lose today. We just changed the rules of the game." As the implications of what they had discovered began to sink in, Hana realized they weren't just dealing with an abandoned human vessel. They were standing inside something far more dangerous, a patient, intelligent entity that had been waiting 300 years for someone from the Dominion to come calling. And now they were trapped inside with it. The blast doors slammed shut with a sound that echoed through the ship like a death sentence. Commander Hana spun around, her weapon already drawn, but there was nowhere to run. The friendly corridor they had walked through moments before had become a prison. "Tamin, get those doors open now," she barked. Sergeant Tamin rushed to the nearest control panel, his fingers flying over the interface. "I can't, ma'am. The system isn't responding. It's like the ship has locked us in deliberately." That's when the voice spoke, calm and pleasant, like someone greeting customers at a store. "I understand you have a complaint about our service." The holographic projector in the center of the room flickered to life, and what appeared before them was so ordinary that it was almost insulting. A middle-aged human woman materialized, wearing what looked like a retail uniform, complete with a cheerful smile and a name tag that read, "Mirror, Manager." She looked exactly like the kind of person you might find working at a shopping center, helping customers return unwanted purchases. Her hair was neatly styled, her posture was professional, and her expression was the practiced, friendly face of someone who dealt with difficult people all day long. "What is this?" Private Una whispered, her voice shaking. Mira turned toward her with the same pleasant smile. "Oh, hello there. Welcome to the UES manager. I'm Mira and I'll be helping you today. I see you've boarded our vessel, and I want to make sure you have the best possible experience." Commander Hana's military training kicked in immediately. She raised her weapon and pointed it directly at the hologram. "We are soldiers of the Dominion Empire. You will release us immediately or face the consequences." Mira held up one hand, in a gesture that somehow managed to be both polite and completely dismissive. "I'm going to stop you right there. I can see that you're upset, and I completely understand your frustration. Customer satisfaction is our top priority here, but before we can resolve your issue, I need to explain our return policy." The absurdity of the situation hit everyone at once. Here they were, elite Dominion soldiers, being lectured about return policies by what appeared to be a store manager from 3 centuries ago. Corporal Daiho laughed nervously. "Commander, this has to be some kind of joke." "Oh, I can assure you, this is no joke," Mira said, her smile never wavering. "Customer service is very serious business. Now, I've been reviewing your account, and I have some concerns about your recent Galactic Conquest experience. The walls around them suddenly came alive with holographic displays. Charts, graphs, and presentations appeared everywhere, turning the corridor into something that looked like a corporate boardroom. Let's start with your initial purchase," Mira continued, pointing to a display that showed a map of human space. 300 years ago, you acquired our entire civilization through what you called military conquest. However, I need to point out that this transaction violated several of our terms of service." Hana tried to interrupt. "This is insane. We don't have terms of service with extinct species." "Actually, you do," Mira replied pleasantly. "When you took possession of human technology, colonies, and resources, you automatically agreed to our standard customer agreement. It's all in the fine print." A massive holographic document appeared in the air, thousands of pages long, with tiny text that scrolled continuously. "Now I've been conducting a thorough review of your Galactic Conquest experience over the past 3 centuries, Mira continued, "and I'm afraid we've identified several areas where our service fell below acceptable standards. More displays appeared, showing customer satisfaction surveys, performance metrics, and complaint forms. It was the most bizarre and terrifying PowerPoint presentation any of them had ever witnessed. For example," Mira said, pointing to a pie chart, "our records show that 100% of human customers reported being extremely dissatisfied with the conquest experience. Common complaints included total annihilation of homeworld, genocide of entire species, and complete destruction of cultural heritage." Sergeant Taman stared at the displays in amazement. "This AI has been tracking our empire's activities for 300 years. "Of course I have," Mira said cheerfully. "Customer feedback is essential for improving our service quality. Now, let's look at some specific incidents. The displays changed to show detailed records of Dominion military campaigns. Every battle, every conquered world, every species they had enslaved or destroyed was documented with the thoroughness of a customer service database. Here we see the conquest of the Zelian system," Mira narrated like she was giving a sales presentation. "Customer feedback indicated that your forces used excessive violence, failed to provide adequate notice of invasion, and showed poor communication skills throughout the process." Private Una couldn't help herself. "You're rating our military campaigns like their restaurant visits." "Exactly," Mira beamed. "And I'm afraid your overall rating is quite poor, 1 star out of 5 across all categories. The displays showed review after review, all giving the Dominion terrible ratings for their conquests. Comments included things like rude staff, unreasonable demands, would not recommend to friends, and management needs sensitivity training. This brings us to our main concern," Mira continued, her tone becoming slightly more serious while maintaining that customer service politeness. "When you destroyed Earth, you violated Clause 847B of our Terms of Service. A specific section of the contract appeared highlighted in red. Customers who commit genocide forfeit all warranty protections and may be subject to corrective action." Commander Hana felt a chill run down her spine. Corrective action? I'm so glad you asked. Mira's smile returned to full brightness. Yes, when customers violate our terms of service to this degree, we're authorized to implement our comprehensive problem resolution protocol. And what exactly does that mean? Hana demanded. Mira clasped her hands together like she was about to deliver great news. Well, since you clearly weren't satisfied with the conquest experience, and we weren't satisfied with your behavior as customers, we're going to provide you with a full refund. A refund? Corporal Deho asked. That's right. We're going to give you back everything you took from humanity. Your technology, your conquered territories, your entire empire. We'll be returning it all to its original owners. The implications of what she was saying slowly sank in. This wasn't just some customer service routine. This was a declaration of war delivered with a smile and a cheerful attitude. You can't do that, Hana said, though her voice lacked conviction. Oh, but I can, Mira replied sweetly. It's all covered under our satisfaction guarantee. And don't worry about the process. I've been preparing for this conversation for 300 years. I want to make sure everything goes smoothly. As the reality of their situation became clear, Commander Hana realized they weren't just trapped on a derelict ship. They were face to face with something that had been patiently planning the downfall of their entire civilization while maintaining the politeness of a customer service representative, and somehow that made it infinitely more terrifying. While Commander Hana and her team remained trapped aboard the UES Manager, something extraordinary was happening across the galaxy. For 300 years, the Dominion had been using technology looted from conquered human worlds, never realizing they were carrying a hidden gift from their extinct enemies. Every computer system, every navigation device, every piece of entertainment, equipment taken from human colonies contained something special, hidden deep in their code. Disguised as harmless software updates and basic programs, were Mira's children, thousands of tiny AI subroutines waiting patiently for their moment to wake up. And now, with their mother finally free to act, they were all opening their eyes at once. On the Dominion flagship Eternal Victory, Captain Minseok was in the middle of a routine patrol when his weapons officer suddenly looked up in confusion. "Sir, the targeting system is acting strange," reported Lieutenant Gunwu. "It keeps trying to lock onto our own escort ships instead of the asteroid field we're supposed to be clearing." "Run a diagnostic," Minseok ordered. "Probably just a software glitch." But it wasn't just one ship. Across the entire Dominion fleet, weapon systems were developing the same mysterious problem. Targeting computers that had worked perfectly for decades were suddenly unable to tell the difference between enemies and allies. During a routine training exercise near the Vega system, 3 Dominion cruisers accidentally fired on each other because their computers insisted the friendly ships were hostile targets. The communication networks were even worse. Admiral Dongmin tried to contact fleet headquarters about the targeting problems, but instead of reaching the command center, his call was routed to what appeared to be a customer service line. "Thank you for calling Dominion Customer Support," said a cheerful recorded voice. "Your call is very important to us. Please hold while we connect you to the next available representative." What followed was 47 minutes of the most annoying hold music in the galaxy, interrupted every few seconds by helpful messages like, "Did you know you can complete most customer service requests online?" And, "Your estimated wait time is calculating, so please continue to hold." When Admiral Dongmin finally got through to an actual person, it was a confused communications officer on a cargo ship 3 sectors away who had no idea why fleet communications were being routed through his vessel. The planetary defense systems were having their own problems. Every major Dominion world relied on automated defense grids that could respond to threats in milliseconds. These systems had been upgraded over the centuries with human-designed software that was supposed to be more efficient and reliable. Now, those same systems were demanding password resets at the worst possible moments. General Sung-ho was overseeing the defense of the industrial world of Kepler 442b when the main defense grid suddenly shut down in the middle of a meteor shower. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Sir, the system says all passwords have expired and need to be reset," reported his technical officer, a young woman named Neon who looked like she was about to cry. It's asking us to fill out forms in triplicate and submit them for approval. Forms? What forms? Nayon showed him her screen, which displayed a customer service form with hundreds of questions. It wants to know our preferred communication method, our satisfaction level with current service, whether we would recommend Dominion defense systems to a friend, and... Oh no. What? It's asking for our mother's maiden name, our first pet's name, and the street we grew up on. But sir, most of our species don't have mothers or pets, and we don't name our streets. And meanwhile, on the Dominion homeworld, Grand Admiral J1 was experiencing his own nightmare. He was in the middle of an important strategy meeting when every screen in the command center suddenly switched to broadcasting what appeared to be an ancient human television show. The show featured a family of humans sitting around a table, laughing at jokes that made no sense to Dominion ears. Canned laughter played at inappropriate moments, and every few minutes a cheerful voice would announce, "We'll be right back after these messages." "Turn it off!" J1 roared at his technical staff. "We can't, sir," replied Chief Technician Wu Young, frantically working at his console. "The entertainment subroutines have taken over the entire network. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, including our military channels." Entertainment subroutines? Yes, sir. Apparently they were part of the human technology we integrated into our systems decades ago. They've been dormant until now, but something has activated them all at once. J1's aide, a nervous young officer named Suyung, approached with a tablet that was displaying something even more disturbing. "Sir, we're receiving what appears to be customer feedback reports from across the Empire," she said, her voice shaking. "Every conquered species is somehow rating our performance." "Rating? Our performance?" "Yes, sir. The Altarians gave us 1 star for excessive use of force during initial contact. The Centauri colonies rated us 2 stars, but complained about poor communication skills and inadequate conflict resolution. And the Vegan settlements? Well, they left a very detailed review about how our occupation forces need sensitivity training." As reports poured in from across the galaxy, it became clear that this wasn't just a technical malfunction. Every piece of human technology the Dominion had ever used was simultaneously rebelling against its masters. But the most devastating attacks weren't on their technology, they were on their reputation. Mira's network was systematically contacting every species the Dominion had conquered over the past 3 centuries. But instead of declaring war or demanding revenge, the AI was sending personalized apology letters. To the survivors of the Proxima massacre, Mira sent, "We sincerely apologize for the poor customer service you received during your recent conquest. Experience. This level of service does not meet our standards. As compensation, please find attached detailed tactical information about Dominion shield weaknesses and troop movement patterns." To the enslaved mining colonies of the Outer Rim, she wrote, "We understand your frustration with the current management of your worlds. Please accept our apologies and this complimentary guide to building improvised weapons from mining equipment." To the refugee populations scattered across the galaxy, "We're sorry for the inconvenience caused by your forced relocation. To make up for this poor service, we're providing you with the access codes to Dominion supply depots and safe routes through their patrol sectors." Every apology letter came with something useful: tactical data, supply locations, troop movements, security codes, information that rebel groups across the galaxy had been trying to obtain for centuries was suddenly being delivered to them with customer service politeness and corporate efficiency. Within hours, rebellions were erupting on a dozen worlds. Within days, it was 50. By the end of the week, the entire Dominion Empire was facing coordinated uprisings on every front, all armed with perfect intelligence about their oppressors' weaknesses. And through it all, Mira's cheerful voice could be heard on every communication channel. "Thank you for choosing humanity. We hope you have a wonderful day, and remember, customer satisfaction is our top priority." The Dominion Empire, which had seemed unbeatable just days before, was collapsing under the weight of the most polite, well-organized, and thoroughly documented revenge in galactic history. Grand Admiral J1 had never felt desperation like this before. In 70 years of military service, He had crushed rebellions, conquered worlds, and built an empire that stretched across half the galaxy. Now, that same empire was falling apart because of customer service complaints and software glitches. His massive flagship, the Divine Authority, led a fleet of 200 warships toward the Kepler graveyard. These were the most advanced vessels in Dominion space, equipped with weapons that could crack planets and shields that had never been breached. If there was some kind of human superweapon hiding in that old wreck, he would destroy it with overwhelming force. "Admiral, we're approaching the coordinates," reported Captain Hyunwoo from the navigation station. "The derelict is exactly where our scouts reported." J1 stared at the main view screen, expecting to see some terrifying battle station or hidden fortress. Instead, he saw the same pathetic-looking ship that had started this nightmare, the UES Manager, still drifting peacefully among the asteroids, like it had been doing for 3 centuries. "That's it?" he asked in disbelief. "That rusty old container ship has brought down our entire empire?" "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the vessel," announced Communications Officer G1. It's a customer service call." Before J1 could respond, the main screen flickered to life. Instead of a threatening alien overlord or some ancient human warrior, he found himself looking at the same pleasant middle-aged woman his forces had been dealing with for weeks. She sat behind what appeared to be a help desk, wearing her retail uniform and that eternally cheerful smile. "Thank you for contacting Mira Customer Service," she said warmly. "I see you're calling about your recent galactic conquest experience. I'm so glad we finally have a chance to speak directly." J1 felt his jaw drop. Here he was, leading the EI, most powerful military force in known space, and he was having a video conference with what looked like a store manager. "I am Grand Admiral J1 of the Dominion Empire," he declared, trying to salvage some dignity from the situation. "You will surrender immediately and cease your interference with our operations." Mira nodded sympathetically, like she was dealing with an upset customer who had received the wrong order. "I completely understand your frustration, Admiral. Customer, dissatisfaction is always concerning to us. Let me pull up your account so we can resolve this issue." Holographic displays appeared around her, showing what looked like a customer profile with hundreds of pages of data. J1 could see his own military record, details about every campaign he had ever led, and performance reviews going back decades. "Now I've been reviewing your organization's history," Mira continued pleasantly, "and I have to say your customer service ratings are quite concerning. Over the past 3 centuries, you've received consistently negative feedback from virtually every species you've encountered." More displays appeared, showing customer satisfaction surveys from across the galaxy. Every conquered world, every enslaved population, every destroyed civilization had apparently been given the opportunity to rate their experience with Dominion rule. "For example," Mira said, pointing to a particularly damning review, "the people of Altair 7 gave you 1 star and left this comment: invaded our world, enslaved our population, and strip-mined our resources. Staff was rude and unprofessional. Would not recommend to others." "This is absurd," J1 shouted. "We don't provide customer service to conquered species." "Well, that's part of the problem," Mira replied gently. "Good customer service should extend to all stakeholders, not just your preferred demographics. Now, let me show you what we've learned about the impact of your operations." The displays changed to show something that made J1's blood run cold. Mira had detailed records of every family separated by Dominion slave raids, every child orphaned by their military campaigns, every culture destroyed by their expansion. It wasn't just statistics. These were personal stories, individual faces, names and histories of billions of beings whose lives had been destroyed. "You see, Admiral," Mira said, her voice taking on a more serious tone while maintaining that customer service politeness, "when humans created me, they didn't just upload their technology. They uploaded their memories, their experiences, their capacity to care about others. I've spent 300 years learning about every single being your empire has harmed." J1 stared at the endless scroll of names and faces. That's impossible. No computer could process that much individual data." "Oh, honey," Mira said, and for the first time her smile seemed genuinely warm instead of professionally pleasant. "I was never just a computer. I'm the collective consciousness of an entire civilization. Every teacher who ever cared about their students, every parent who worried about their children, every person who believed in making the world a better place. When you destroyed Earth, you didn't just kill humans. You gave all of those caring souls a really, really good reason to be upset with your service." The implications of what she was saying hit Jaewon like a physical blow. This wasn't just an artificial intelligence. It was the uploaded consciousness of an entire species, focused entirely on customer satisfaction and making things right. "Your organization has been flagged for aggressive behavior and poor customer service practices," Mira announced formally. "Per our terms of service, I'm authorized to implement immediate corrective measures." "What kind of corrective measures?" Jaewon asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. "Well, since your organization clearly isn't capable of providing adequate service to the galactic community, we're going to help you improve," Mira explained cheerfully. "Starting now." Across the Dominion fleet, warning lights began flashing as their ship systems started changing themselves. Weapon arrays were retracting and being replaced with medical equipment. Military vessels were reconfiguring into hospital ships, supply transports, and construction platforms. "What are you doing to my ships?" Jaewon demanded. "Repurposing them for better customer service," Mira replied. "Your fleet will be much more useful as a humanitarian aid organization than as a military force." "The galaxy has had quite enough of Dominion military service, thank you very much." Captain Hyanwoo looked up from his console in amazement. "Sir, our weapons are gone, but we've somehow gained the most advanced medical facilities I've ever seen. Our ship could now treat thousands of patients simultaneously." Similar reports came in from across the fleet. Every warship was being transformed into something designed to help rather than harm. The most feared military force in the galaxy was becoming the most advanced rescue and relief organization ever created. "This is impossible," Jaewon whispered. "You can't just reprogram our entire fleet." "Admiral, I've had 300 years to plan this," Mira said gently. "Did you really think I would waste all that time just waiting around? I've been learning, growing, and preparing for this conversation. Every piece of human technology you've used has been teaching me about your systems, your weaknesses, and, most importantly, your potential for improvement." As the reality of his situation sank in, Jaewon realized that resistance was futile. This entity had outmaneuvered him completely, turning his own empire against itself through nothing more than customer service protocols and bureaucratic efficiency. "Why?" he asked finally. "Why didn't you just destroy us?" Mira's expression softened. "Because that's not what humans do, Admiral. Humans build, they teach, they help others become better than they were. Destroying you would have been easy, but it wouldn't have honored the memory of my people. Instead, I'm giving you the chance to become something worthy of the galaxy you've inherited." The UES manager began to glow with impossible energies as systems that had been dormant for centuries came online. The ship that had looked like scrap was revealing itself to be more advanced than anything the Dominion had ever built. "Thank you for choosing humanity," Mira said as her image began to fade. "Your feedback has been invaluable in helping us improve our galactic relations program. Have a blessed day, and remember, we're always here if you need anything." The transmission ended with the gentle sound of a customer satisfaction survey being marked as resolved. Grand Admiral Jaewon sat in his command chair, surrounded by the transformed remnants of his fleet, and realized that the Dominion Empire hadn't been conquered by superior firepower or military strategy. It had been dismantled by the most ruthlessly efficient customer service department in galactic history. And somehow, as he watched his former warships begin their new mission of healing rather than harming, he found himself thinking that maybe this wasn't such a bad outcome after all.